The turning point in Leslie Nielsen's career was the participation in the comedy Aeroplane.
How soon can you land?
I can't tell.
You can tell me I'm a doctor.
No, I mean, I'm just not sure.
Or can't you take a guess?
Well, not for another 2 hours.
You can't take a guess for another 2 hours?
After finding real fame in America, in '82, the actor would go on to star in the lead role of a police squad playing patriotic and dumb detective Frank. The character was developed in the comedy The Naked Gun in '88. The movie became a huge hit and Leslie Nielsen is known worldwide, then followed by 2 successful sequels to the movie, and the actor himself would later say that working with the Zuckers and Jim Abrahams was a big deal for him, a great success in his life. David Zucker said they were given a list of about 20 potential titles, and they ended up choosing Naked Gun. The title was changed to avoid confusion with the Police Academy franchise that was also created by Pat Proft. The Naked Gun is the first movie of a trilogy about the work of a cop from the Flying Squad of Police, a parody of the Cop series. The movie parodies episodes of Columbo, James Bond, Dirty Harry, and a number of other famous movie series. Susan Beaubien played Mrs. Nordberg, the wife of a character played by O.J. Simpson. Many years later, Beaubien starred in the first season of the crime series American Crime Story of the O.J. Simpson murder case. Simpson in the 94th year, Simpson was accused of killing his wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, of her lover, Ron Goldman, but his defense attorneys managed to get him acquitted. On September 3, 2007, Simpson and his buddies broke into a hotel room in Vegas. Of a Las Vegas hotel room of a sports trophy dealer of sports trophies, and threatened with a gun and forcibly removed the trophies he had previously owned. The defendant was facing life in prison. The prosecutor demanded that the trial judge to sentence Simpson to 18 years in prison. The defense attorney requested a minimum sentence for his client to receive the minimum sentence to a 6-year prison sentence, and on October 5, 2008, a Las Vegas court sentenced O.J. Simpson to 33 years in prison, with the possibility of parole. 2017, the actor was released on October 1st, 17th year, after 9 years. His brutal conviction. Among Frank's old dishes in the fridge is a jar of mayonnaise that has an expiration date of '82 year. That's the year the US released the TV series Police Squad, based on which the movie is based on. Director David Zucker would later reveal that the studio insisted on bringing in some Oscar-winning actor.
The winner is George Kennedy.
That actor was George Kennedy, who was himself actively offered to help, because he was very sorry that he didn't get the movie, The Airplane, of the same producers. The director himself we can see in the opening credits when the man is fixing a painting on the wall of his house, and at the same time a police car pulls into the hallway. Zucker turns around and jumps into the room next door.
Frank, they're not here for you. Weird Al Yankovic is on the plane.
Alfred Matthew Yankovic, better known as Weird Al Yankovic, used to take girls on a date to the movies to see this movie, only he didn't tell them he was in it. The actor added that in some cases, he would purposely wear the same shirt he wears in the movie on a date, to achieve an unexpected effect.
Nice work, Ted. What else are you guys developing?
Despite the fact that the movie was based on the TV series, the only original cast members left are Leslie Nielsen and Ed Williams, who plays CSI Ted, and the latter is shown teaching the children as in Serial. There were a lot of takes on the set, sometimes as many as 40 takes to make one shot. This approach to filming was to make sure that every element of the scene was organic, and not an ounce of falseness. Actor George Kennedy, the director, didn't particularly like this impulse, and he complained that repeating 40 times the same joke 40 times was very difficult.
And the doctors say his chances of survival, 50-50, which means there's only a 10% chance that he'll survive.
The painting that Frank accidentally destroyed at Ludwig's house was The Blue Boy, or The Boy in Blue, Thomas Gainsborough's most famous work. Gainsborough's original painting is located at the Huntington Library in San Marino, California. The same painting appears in the last movie, Pierce Brosnan's last Bond movie, Die Not Now. Here's another Bond reference. Todd Olson's character is based on a cue from the same movie, the same Bond movies. They're like Ted makes an invention that helps Frank in different situations.
Take a look for yourself. I can't see anything. Look with your eyes open. Now it's different.
Cuban.
No, my ancestors are from Wales.
When Ludwig offers Frank a Cuban cigar, Leslie Nielsen's character claims his mother was from Wales. The actor's real-life mother is from Wales.
Johnny English Secret Service.
The plot of the movie is very similar to another comedy that was released 15 years later, Agent Johnny English. In this movie, Rowan Atkinson's character Johnny English is a bumbling and incompetent British spy. The Queen's reception was filmed at the famed, Hollywood's famous Ambassador Hotel, where they filmed Pretty Woman, Forrest Gump, and Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, but after a month of filming of The Naked Gun, the hotel closed permanently to guests and was demolished in 2005. With a budget of $11 million, The Naked Gun grossed $140 million at the box office. And the filmmakers wanted to continue the story of Detective Frank Nielsen, Priscilla Presley, Kennedy, and O.J. Simpson. Reprise their roles in parts 2 and 3. Pictures we can see of the bar, the Lusitania flooding, the 1906 earthquake in San Francisco, Ford Edsel, Neville Chamberlain, and Michael Dukakis, and the Hubble space, the Hubble telescope. The Hubble is an automated observatory in orbit around the Earth, named after American astronomer Edwin Hubble. It was launched on April 24, 1990. Hubble is a joint project of NASA and the European Space Agency. The European Space Agency, the telescope's placement in space makes it the ability to record electromagnetic radiation in the ranges that the Earth's atmosphere is opaque, primarily in the infrared. Due to the absence of atmospheric influence, the resolving power of the telescope is 7 times the resolution of a similar telescope on the ground. In the second installment of Weird Al Yankovic played the brief role of a gangster who holds the police station at gunpoint of a gun, in a scene where he says,
You pigs. Just take it easy, man. Say your prayers.
and then Frank slammed the door shut and knocked down Yankovic's character on the floor. Yankovic will tell you that it took more than 20 rubles, it took over 20 takes, and that, after 16 takes, his leg turned a beautiful shade of purple, which is funny. Only at that moment the stunt coordinator asked Yankovic if he wanted to wear a lining. The actor himself appears in all of the trilogy, but this is the only movie in which he doesn't appear as himself.
I don't remember your name being on the guest list.
No wonder I sometimes use my maiden name.
Robert Goulet I played in this movie, Priscilla Presley's lover in 74. In 74, her ex-husband Elvis Presley took out his television set because somehow Robert Goulet showed up on it. That TV is now a collector's item. Goulet himself was a special guest star who was killed at the beginning of The Police Squad. The love scene between Leslie Nielsen and Priscilla Presley with a potter's wheel is a sequel to a similarly more romantic scene from the movie Ghosts, starring Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore. That movie was directed by Jerry Zucker, who works with his brother David Zucker, who shot The Naked Gun.
And a partially solar-powered electric car.
The electric car shown at the secret meeting, the real one, is an '86 Pontiac Fiero that has never been produced. It has a top speed is 110 kilometers per hour and it can only travel 80 kilometers.
Take a look at this headline.
23 minutes into the movie, the villains meet at the docks and one of them is looking at a newspaper below. Left says Elvis is planning to buy apartments in Aspen. Maybe it's a reference to Priscilla Presley who was married to Elvis Presley from 67 to 83. Or maybe it's just a parody of to the widespread 90s opinion that Elvis was still alive and living incognito. The third installment brought in real biker gangs so that they could to play the prisoners in the prison fight scene, which is interesting, but at the time, no one knew that there were 4 rival gangs, but luckily no incidents were seen.
Don't you remember the shootout at the disco bar? In the 70s.
The plot of the movie is that George Kennedy got sick with pneumonia and was so sick that he couldn't even walk to get out of the situation. The director had Kennedy to sit on a bar stool for his entire role in the movie scene, and this is how they played it out when Frank meets Ed. Ed never gets up off the stool when Ed has to leave, leaving Frank alone with Tanya. Kennedy just leaned back to create the illusion of his character getting up and walking away.
Nordberg.
Coming, Lieutenant.
The Naked Gun franchise was conceived as a trilogy, and this movie was supposed to be the final installment, allowing Leslie Nielsen out of the role. The movie ends with Frank quitting the police force for good, has a baby with Jane, and lived happily ever after. In the early 2000s, David Zucker and Pat Proft wrote the script for a fourth Naked Gun movie under the working title Naked Gun 444.4. Nonetheless, Zucker and Proft began working on the very scary movies 3, 4, and 5. The original title of the movie was The Naked Gun, only underwritten, but the subtitle was changed to The Latest Outburst. A flashback to Frank and Jane's wedding was the finale of the second Naked Gun. The filmmakers didn't use it in that movie, but put it in the third installment. At the same time, the scene in which Frank, Jane, and Frank Jr. get to their house was an original ending for this movie, but because the filmmakers thought that the boy playing Frank Jr. didn't look like interesting enough, they decided to go with a hospital finale, and they used that scene in the middle of the movie. The first scene of the movie parody of Armadillo, Potemkin and the Untouchables was still to be used in the first movie, but due to budgetary problems, the filmmakers couldn't realize the idea. This isn't the first time Earl Boen has played a psychologist. He also played the profession in Terminator franchise.
To people like China's leader Lin Wuotong, maybe they'll finally become sensitive. Thank you.
Frank's speech to the leader of China is a parody of a similar speech made by Richard Gere at the 65th Oscar Award ceremony, where he asking China to give Tibet that freedom. Frank and Rock's prison tunnel leads them to Sorewood Middle School, which is the name of the high school the brothers attended, Zucker and Abrahams, in the Milwaukee neighborhood. Zucker, Abrahams, Zucker, traditional among movie critics, the name of the Hollywood triumvirate of parody comedy movies, brothers Jerry and David Zucker and Jim Abrahams, although the credits of their films listed their names as director, screenwriter, producer, blurred, and they literally made movies together. Leslie Nielsen was married four times, was deaf most of his life, deafness, and had to use various hearing aids, died on November 28, 2010 in his sleep in the hospital from pneumonia. Nielsen's most of his roles were related to comedies, so it's not surprising that he was greeted with a sense of humor. Dominic Hauser's Naked Gun tunes was played at the actor's funeral. The late comedy star's tombstone says it means full throttle, and next to it, there's a marble bench that says as soon as you get an opportunity to sit down, which is funny. Isn't the only positive memorial in the cemetery next to Nielsen's grave. You can also find inscriptions that say I told you I was sick, or he was a good husband and father, but a bad electrician. In 2013, it was announced that a reboot of the movie Naked Gun. Ed Helms, a familiar face from the movie series The Hangover, was announced as the new, as Frank Zucker said that the style will be different from the one that was present in the original trilogy. He also said he'd like to see an actor who has previously, the lead role of an actor who had never done a comedy before. And already in the early 2021, the company, Paramount Pictures, announced that they wanted the lead role. They would like to see Liam Neeson.
It will either end my career, or it's going to elevate it, and frankly, there's nothing I can say.
Liam Neeson, for his part, in turn added that due to his age, he plans to be done with the militants as soon as he finishes his last 3 or 4 action film.